I hadn't been back to my hometown in years. It was one of those places that felt frozen in time, where the streets stayed the same and the faces never seemed to change. But things were different now. Something was wrong. The news hadn't said much, just whispers of disappearances and strange occurrences, but I knew that place better than the headlines ever could. It wasn't just bad luck or coincidence. There was something darker happening. The first thing I noticed when I arrived was how quiet it was. Too quiet. The streets were almost empty. The usual chatter of kids playing or neighbors talking replaced by an eerie stillness. People moved quickly, eyes downcast, avoiding each other. Even the air felt different, thicker, heavier, like it was pressing down on everything. I walked past the old houses, now showing signs of decay. Windows that had once been open to let in the breeze were now boarded up. Front porches, where families used to gather, sat abandoned. There was no laughter, no voices, just silence. And in that silence, I could feel it. Something watching, lurking just beneath the surface. The rumors had started small, like they always do. A couple of missing pets here, some unexplained noises there. But then people started disappearing. At first, it was just a few scattered and easily explained away. Someone moved out of town without telling anyone. A drifter who never stayed in one place for long. But as the weeks went on, more and more people vanished. Families would wake up to find a child's bed empty, or a spouse who had gone to work and never returned. There were no signs of struggle, no trace left behind, just empty rooms and cold beds. I couldn't shake the feeling that the town was rotting from the inside out. People stopped asking questions, stopped talking about what was happening, like they were afraid to even acknowledge it. The police were no help. They didn't seem to want to dig too deep, content with calling it a string of unrelated incidents. But it wasn't unrelated. Everyone knew that, even if they wouldn't admit it. It was the woods. Everyone who went missing lived near the woods. Thick and dark, the forest had always loomed at the edge of town, dense with trees that blocked out the sunlight. As a kid, we used to dare each other to go inside, but we never ventured far. Something about it felt wrong even then. But now it was worse. It was as if the woods were creeping closer, inch by inch, swallowing the town in its shadow. People had stopped going near them even during the day. Those who lived closest had started moving away, leaving their homes behind. The smart ones anyway. The others? They just disappeared. I found myself drawn to the woods, like something was pulling me toward them. I told myself I was just curious, but it was more than that. There was something in those trees. Something waiting. I could feel it, watching me from the moment I arrived back in town. The deeper I walked into the forest, the stronger the sensation became. The light above dimmed, the trees growing impossibly thick, and the sounds of the outside world faded into nothing. The ground felt soft beneath my feet, almost as if it were breathing. The deeper I went, the more the air seemed to shift, turning colder, sharper. The trees loomed above me, ancient and twisted, their branches reaching out like claws. And then I saw it. At first, it was just a shape in the distance, barely visible through the fog. But as I moved closer, it became clearer. A figure standing perfectly still between the trees. Its body was wrong. Too long. Too thin. Like it had been stretched beyond what was natural. And its face, if you could call it that, was featureless, just smooth, pale skin. It didn't move. It didn't have to. The air around it pulsed, and I could feel its presence. Ancient, malevolent. This was what the town had been trying to ignore. This was what had been taking people, drawing them into the woods, never to return. I turned and ran, but even as I escaped the forest, I knew it was too late. The woods had taken root in the town and its people. They couldn't leave, and neither could I. The disappearances would continue, and no one would talk about it. No one would question it. The town was already gone, consumed by whatever lurked in the trees. It was only a matter of time before we all vanished one by one into the darkness.